What's up people, and welcome back to Philosophy 101, the series where I actually put my undergrad and master's degrees to good use to help you guys understand some cool philosophical concepts. And on today's episode, we'll be covering the contextualist response to the faultless disagreement paradox. And if you missed the episode on what faultless disagreement is, then please quickly go watch that one and then come straight back. It will make so much more sense if you do that. Anyway, contextualism is the philosophical view that emphasizes the importance of context in understanding meaning, knowledge, and truth. Contextualists argue that actions, utterances, and expressions can only be understood inside of the context from which they were expressed. As McFarlane puts it, the contextualist takes the subjectivity of a discourse to consist in the fact that it is covertly about the speaker. So the contextualist, to try and understand these expressions outside of the context from which they were expressed, is completely pointless. Like, you just won't be able to understand. In this contextualist way of thinking, two identical sentences like "I am cold" could mean completely different things if they were uttered by two completely different people. And that's because the word "I" refers to the person that is uttering the sentence and their context or way of expressing the world around them. Now, when you apply this to faultless disagreement, you get some very interesting and useful upshots. To use the same example I used in the initial episode, when I say that basketball was fun and Florian Wirtz turns around and says, nah, it's not fun at all, we appear to have a disagreement. But think about how we would navigate that in day-to-day life. We probably chalk it up to some difference of opinion and not see it as something that needs to be resolved. This is what the contextualists say that we should do, but they add the extra reason that it's because we're not actually having a disagreement. In the first episode, I said that a disagreement is where people assert contradictory statements that leads them to not be able to agree, where somebody has said something wrong or faulty that's led to this disagreement. Well, the contextualist adds an extra premise and says that in order for something to be a disagreement, the statements need to be uttered or expressed in the same context. And because Florian and I are speaking from our completely different personal contexts, there is actually no disagreement going on. In this discussion, essentially what's going on is Florian Wirtz is saying, okay, look, basketball's not fun to me. And I'm saying, to me, basketball was really fun. Maybe he grew up in a school where basketball was the one sport that no one ever wanted to play in PE. And for me, it was the one that we only ever got to play at golden time or on special days at school. So to me, this is the most plausible response to the faultless disagreement paradox, because it explains why most of the time when we have these apparent cases of faultless disagreement, we don't really see it as anything that needs to be solved and just chalk it up to maybe indifference. It's only when people share a context or agree to share for a certain discussion a context that you could say that they're having a real disagreement. And if that's the case, it will be much easier to say, oh, this person's wrong or this person's made a mistake, because you'll have some parameters from which you're talking. Now hit that follow button to learn about the relative response in the next episode and any more Philosophy 101 videos in the future. See you all in the next one. Peace.